Hello everyone. Today I want to talk about yearning in Smash Brothers. Now, the word yearning might be a little bit like, I don't know, dramatic or romantic or a bit sus, but basically just wanting things and what that means for us, right? What wanting something makes us do. Here I have pulled up the Needer tier list made by WebJP and friends. It's trying to show us who has wanted it most in their career, and they call it the Needer tier list for like dramatic effect. But I feel like calling it need undermines the power, the pure raw power of just wanting something just because, right? So let's actually look at some definitions here. This is need. It's when you require something because it is essential or very important. Sure, you could say that these guys need to win in Smash Brothers. They need to succeed. But if we look at want, which is to have a desire, to possess or do something, to wish for, I feel like there's a big difference. Because when you think about needing and wanting, I think of maybe eating, right? Sure, you need food, but what is more likely to actually make you go up and get food is if you want it, right? If and our bodies actually have a way to like make us want something, right? If you get hungry, your tummy starts growling, your brain is telling you, "Hey bro, you want food right now." You don't have to eat food right now. You're just a little hungry, right? Usually our diets are decided by things that we want to eat, right? Like we are not in a do or die scenario. We have that privilege. We have that. We're blessed to be like that. But we just eat like chips or sandwiches or yogurt, whatever. Usually just because we want to, right? You go out to eat with friends because you want to. Even though food is a need, want is actually more powerful. It does more for us. It decides what we do. So, when we apply that to Smash, well, there are plenty of people that may want it, and we see here a tier list of people who want it. And I wanna think about what gets people to want something and how they show it, right? If you want to be the best, let's look at some names here like Tweak, DeBuzz, VD there's some commonality between these guys, and it's that they are the greatest. They- it- and then you look at tier three like WebJP, Allo, like clearly the guys in tier one want it more than the guys in tier three because the guys in tier one are more decorated, right? Like you can just think about it. Like, oh my god, yeah, I remember seeing Tweak win 2 majors this season. I remember DeBuzz being the king of New York. BD Bean, right? Like, these guys obviously wanted it more because of their resumes. And then the guys in tier 3 and tier 4 clearly don't want it as much. That's how you can differentiate them, by what they've done. You can tell who wanted something more by what they've done. So, let's look at another example. I know I've already put out a video on Spargo, not to harp on him more, but like this was revealed the other day, and it just gave me more confirmation that wanting things is the difference maker.
¿Qué es lo que se necesita para ser el mejor? Lo he querido desde que tengo memoria.
What does it take to be the best? I've wanted it for as long as I can remember. Like he said it all right there. Just wanting something is what enabled him to do everything that he has done so far and will continue to do. It's just the power of wanting something. To call it a need, I feel like dismisses this power. So, if you want something, you can get it. Here's a whole team of people that wanted something. We are here carrying this trophy because we wanted it. We communicated with ourselves. We got on the same page. We wanted to win. So, what did we do to win? We grinded. We studied. We had sessions where we talked about the other teams, talked about how to beat specific players from each team, talk about who should go in versus what, when, why, whatever, right? We're looking at all these different angles just because we want to win. Communication with each other is similar to actually communicating with yourself, because the first step to progress is wanting something, okay? And there are plenty of people in Smash that don't know what they want. How the hell are you gonna do anything if you're aimless, right? Like you're just throwing darts at a board, but if you actually want to aim for the center, then you'll probably have a better chance at getting the center, right? So I always encourage people to ask themselves, what do I actually want? And that can be broad, right? That could be for their Smash career. What do I want? Do I want to be the greatest of all time? Do I want to be the best in my state? Do I want to be the best player of this character, right? Once you show yourself, once you ask yourself, once you confirm with yourself, yes, I do want that, I think you're more likely to get that, right? Some people just show up and just play and they have aimless goals, no goals, and they just don't do anything. And you can take that on a more specific scope, right? In this match, I want to dash attack because it puts someone off stage. And why do I want to put them off stage? Because I want to edgeguard them and take their stock that way, right? Some people load up the game and just press buttons, and they haven't considered what they want. If they end up winning, it's by pure chance. They just happen to press buttons that happen to win. I've been told I have a very structured game plan by some people, and it's partly just because I ask myself, what do I want, right? Getting hits in Smash, any kind of scenario is good if you want it, right? If you can reason out that this is something that I wanted, then it's good, right? Let's see. If you want something, your actions need to align with what you want as well, right? So there are some people that do have goals. I want to be to good players. Something kind of general like that. Sure, that's serviceable, but are you putting in the effort to do that? Some people may have the goal, yeah, I do want to be the best in my state. Yeah, I do want to do this and that, but like, have you stepped back? Have you stepped back and have you observed what you are doing to get what you want? Well, if you're only playing the game a couple times a week, and if you're only studying maybe once a week, does that show that you want it? Your actions are not aligned with your wants. You need to communicate with yourself. You need to be honest with yourself and ask if I want it or not. And then do the things. You need to realize what you can do to get what you want. Can is the next word that I want to look at. It's super similar to the word want. I feel like they are linked. Let's look at the definition. Specifically the second definition. It's to be permitted to. And then the example is, you can use the phone if you want to. That's kind of redundant, right? On paper, many of you will think of the word want and think of the word can and perceive them as different things, right? Wanting something is different from being able to do something, but with this definition and with this example, they kind of sound like the same thing, right? Your ability to use the phone is only determined by if you want to do it, right? If you want, you can. And I think that's powerful. Let's look at another example. This is Baki. It's a funny anime. I don't watch it that much, but I've seen a couple clips, and this one is similar to the phone thing. For reference, this is a so Baki is the son of the strongest man in the world. This is the strongest man in the world, and Baki wants to beat his dad. And this is actually a line, like a lineage of people who are very strong. So Baki's strong and he wants to beat his dad. His dad is the strongest in the world. And this guy's dad is dead. But he returns as a ghost just by how powerful he is. And I think that's really funny. Check this out. So that's Gramps, and he's basically saying, "You're the strongest, bro, but you're struggling versus my grandson, aka your son." So that's just funny by itself, but look at this next thing that Gramps says. You know you can beat him if you want. Once again, the only thing limiting Baki is if he wants it or not. He knows this. Gramps says he knows this. You can if you want. That is the only limiter. That's the only thing that this is all dependent on. It's if you want it. If you want it, then you can. And another thing is, well, there are some people out there that don't believe they can do things. Let's look at this. This is a Mario Kart video. It's, if you can read the title, it says, "New Skip breaks Mario Kart DS after 18 years. Let's look at this short piece.
Zuma wasn't a tasser, so he posted to the Discord asking for someone to task what he was exploring, and one of the first replies he received was that it wasn't possible, and even if it was, it wouldn't be faster even in a task setting.
So basically some guy was like, I want to do this. I want to create a shortcut in this game. Someone else responded and said, that is not possible. Stop trying. Even if it did exist, it would not be fast. Well, the first guy just insisted.
Zuma wasn't deterred, and his bounce attempts kept getting higher and higher. In fact, he knew it could work because he'd done it in 300cc's, a hacked game mode with increased speed.
So, here he had some evidence to lead him to believe that it was possible. But even without the evidence, the point is, someone thinks it can be done, and someone else thinks it cannot be done. Guess which of these two guys finds the shortcut and breaks Mario Kart DS? Of course, it's the person that believes that it can be done. By just being guy 2 here, by being the negative Nancy, by being this guy, you just completely limited yourself from ever doing any kind of progress. Just because you think it's not possible.
It wouldn't.
So, this leads me to think that if you believe in more things, if you believe more things are possible, more things can be done, I think you're more likely to do those things. And you're more likely to want those things as well. So, I'm going to read an excerpt that I posted in the Mega Man Discord a couple months back. So, someone in the Discord, I shared the Mario Kart video with the guys in the Discord, and someone was like, "Oh, that guy's a genius. The guy who believed it can happen is a genius." And someone else, and I blacked out their names because there's no point in squabbling here. This is a video more for like enlightenment and encouragement rather than like airing beef or anything. But one of the Mega Men called the player who believed a genius, and another player was like, don't call them geniuses. But I think the point is, now I'll read it word for word. We are all capable of believing in something and doing the work to make it happen. The guy who believed versus the guy who didn't believe, in reality, there is no difference between these two people. They are both capable of the same things. It's just one guy decided to do something and the other didn't. The guy who believed didn't believe in it because he was a genius. He was a genius because he believed. And then if we replace the word genius with the phrase person who did the work, it becomes way more clear, becomes way more objective, right? So take that above sentence. The guy who believed didn't believe in it because he was a genius. He was a genius because he believed. Now it reads, the guy who believed didn't believe in it because he put in the work. He put in the work because he believed, right? That's exactly what happened. And here's another example of replacing the word genius with person who did work, right? So that's what separates people, or geniuses, aka people who do work, from ones who don't, or who aren't, right? People who do work, or are geniuses, visualize the new outcome. They believe it to be possible. They can see it in their mind's eye, that it can happen. So, let's look at someone who does a lot of work. Their name is Cody now, but they used to go by IBDW. And I remember watching Melee Grands of Gommel X a couple months ago, or a month ago, whatever. And Vish, one of the commentators, was talking about something that IBDW, or Cody, believes in, which is that every option in Smash is viable. Everything has some sort of intrinsic value, inherent value, just because it is, just because it exists. And let's hear it.
Yesterday we were talking about how like things like that go full circle, how it's good in the beginning, mid level is bad, top level is like it works again,
So Homemade Waffles there is just talking about this like cycle, even where at low level something makes sense, at mid level it doesn't, at high level it makes sense again. I'm gonna show something later that's gonna it's gonna be a visual of this idea, a visual of this point. But now let's hear Vish out.
There are still options at the end of the day, and you just got to find the situation. Sometimes that situation comes back.
Right.
Well, that was Hugs, but now's Vish's turn.
Yeah, Cody talks about that actually. How, oh my god, that's a beautiful combo off the top.
Right.
Cody talks about that where he doesn't think there's like specifically anything bad, because at top level you can reintroduce different things back, and it just will throw your opponent off guard. I think that's why we saw those offstage edge guards in the previous game as well, right?
So not only is there like a belief that anything here can be done, like any option can be done, but each option can be good. Each option can work. It's just up to you to find out, to put in the work, right? And see where each option works. His name is IBDW because that stands for I be doing work, right? This guy, with that kind of mindset, I believe it, right? He believes that any option can be good. So with all this talk about believing in things, this is a post on Twitter I made a couple months ago. I was so, what's the word I'm looking for? Inspired by just this idea that believing in more things, believing not only that more things are possible, but believing that those things can be good too. Like maybe believing that an option can be good, or believing that a person can be good. Just believing in more possibilities is good for you. if the difference between a genius and a layperson is just seeing a possibility, then we need to see or believe in more things. The one who sees something is more likely to work towards realizing that than someone who doesn't see it, right? Just like in the Mario Kart example. Just like Cody, one of the hardest workers, right? Believing in others gives you more things to believe in, right? If believing in more things is good for us, well, here's something that we can believe in. We can believe in each other, right? Bring that back to us, by the way. I have to put faith in myself and everyone else here. There are times when I would go up and I would take some stocks, but I wouldn't be able to get the job done myself. Well, thankfully, everyone else in my team not only wants what I want, but I believe they can, and they do too. And they go up there and do what I couldn't. It's nice to have a well-rounded team where everyone can do something, right? It's nice to... If I didn't believe in my teammates, I wouldn't have spent time with them. I wouldn't have, like, given them more opportunities to show that they can, right? Believing in people helped me. And of course, they believe in me too. So, it is easy to believe in people if you hold the belief that humans are capable of seeing possibilities. Believing in others is almost like a co-requisite to believing in yourself, right? Because if you can believe in a lot of things, others, like other people, things, options in Smash, you can believe in yourself too. And there's huge benefits to believing that you can. You guys may already know about this, but I love bringing it up. Just the Dunning-Kruger chart. So I'll show it to you real quick. This is what it looks like if you don't know about it. Basically, it's a chart that visualizes someone's knowledge and their confidence over time. At the start of whatever career they have, whether this be the knowledge of a Smash player or the knowledge of a chef or whatever. At the very start, they're not going to have much knowledge, but their confidence is going to be really high, even though they're still at a point where they're not very knowledgeable, or they're not very skillful. And once they get more knowledge, usually this is how the chart is perceived. Usually it's once someone gets more knowledge, then their confidence changes based on that, right? So from being a noob who's confident in themselves to being someone who's mid-level, this brings them down to like a confidence level where they're like, they don't think highly of themselves. They're like, no, everyone, there's like so much that I don't know. There are others who are better, right? Confidence is low. They might be saying something like, I can't do it, right? And then eventually, as they get a lot of knowledge and become experts in their field, then they get their confidence back and they start believing that they can again. Similar to what Brandon or Homemade Waffles was talking about earlier in the Gamal X Grands, there's this idea that an option is great at a beginner level, becomes bad at the mid level, and then becomes great again at higher levels. And I feel like it's similar to this idea of confidence being strongest when you're newbiest, and then becoming strong again when you're actually good. This is another way to look at the graph. Noob, intermediate, expert. And you could envision each of these players saying something, right? Like above their heads, a caption. Maybe this noob is saying like, I can do it. And then this intermediate player is saying, I can't do it. And then the expert is saying, I can do it. It's so weird that the noob and the expert share the same opinion. But I feel like maybe there's something to it. I feel like you could look at this graph, or this one, And maybe you could look at it instead of like the more your knowledge grows, the more your confidence grows. But maybe at some point, when your confidence goes up, your knowledge goes up, your skill goes up. Maybe what stops intermediate players from becoming pros is their lack of confidence. If they don't believe, if they don't want, if they don't think that they can, then I feel like that's a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Quote from Confucius: "The man who says he can and the man who says he cannot are both correct." Who do you think is more likely to win a major? The player who says I can't, or the player who says I can? It might seem cliche, but just believing that you can gives you a leg up on the competition. Here's a breakthrough moment for me. I had this exact moment. I had a moment where in my mind the light switch flickered and turned on, and I started believing that I can. This was versus Mia. I wanted to beat Mia from the onset. When I figured out that Mia was going to be at the event, as well as the other Japanese players, I went ahead and I studied, because I wanted to play them and I wanted to beat them. For Mia specifically, I studied for 3 days. If I didn't want to beat Mia, I would not have studied for 3 days. 3 days straight on one guy is crazy, but that's what happens when you want something really bad. So, I did my studying, I went to the event. There was no guarantee that I would play Mia at all, but I happened to get far enough in bracket to reach him. The bracket happened to shake out that way. Now was my time. Now, this is game 1. I'm ahead slightly. Things are going well, but one moment here, not only... So, I wanted it, right? But maybe there was a part of me that didn't think that I can. Maybe I wasn't fully sold on the idea that I can. But this one moment reassured me that I can and will win. This up smash, this insignificant, innocuous, innocent-looking up smash was all it took for me to be like, oh my god, I'm winning this. I can win. It's possible. This was an up smash that I studied for. I knew that this exact up smash can work. And I studied, I won't go into details about the how and why I knew, but I just knew, like in this scenario, up smash can work. And the second I was put in that scenario, I did the up smash, and it did work. It's just like all of my confidence from studying was just like confirmed to me. All of it was reassured. All of it was emboldened, empowered from this one up smash. And then I did win the set, and I even got a 3-stock. It's a little silly that a small moment like that can be such a boost, such a crazy boost, but it's off the back of my good work ethic. It's off of me wanting it to begin with, right? It's off of me studying and me realizing that I can get that up smash. The second I got it, I'm like, oh my god, I can not only get that up smash, but I can do it all. And I was even able to get the 3-stock, which is still crazy to me, but not that crazy when you realize how much I wanted it. So, a little recap. We've concluded that people who believe they can do something are more likely to do that thing, right? More so than someone who believes they cannot. I can win means you're more likely to win. Similarly, One who actually wants something is more likely to get that thing than someone who doesn't. I want to be an astronaut equals more likely to be an astronaut, right? Go ahead. Here's a challenge for anyone. Find an astronaut and ask them if they wanted to be an astronaut. Of course they wanted to be an astronaut. It's like them being an astronaut is proof that they wanted it. Let's look at this on a smaller scale. So this was, of course, posted in the Mega Man Discord. So I'm going to be bringing up Mega Man examples, but if you want to dash attack, you can. There's many times in a match where you can dash attack, but we don't really see it that often from Mega Man. And the only reason we don't see it that often is because they don't want it. They want to do other things. You can't do everything at once, of course, so you have to figure out what you want most. You have to categorize. You gotta put down a list of priorities. What do I want most? Not many Mega Men put dash attack high up on that list. But maybe you would. Well, and maybe there could be a couple reasons why they don't have dash attack up on their list, right? Maybe they believe something like Mega Man has no spammable moves. There are Mega Men players who believe this, and it makes them not dash attack, right? Oh, it's so laggy, if I miss I get punished, right? Well, if you do believe that Mega Man has spammable moves, that, I think, will make you dash attack way more often, right? And that's just from believing in something. I believe Mega Man has spammable moves, versus the guy that says, I believe Mega Man does not have very spammable moves. One guy believed in it. One guy thought it can be done. One guy thought it was possible. One guy thought Mega Man can be spammy, and that's the guy that's out here getting dash attacks. My point is, I want to find things that are fully in our control first. Whether you can do something or want to do something are things that only you get to decide. No one else should come in between you and your desires and your wants, and what you can do or can't do. If you cannot do leaf shield cancels, you can eventually do them by your own decision, by your own permission. Think back to the can example. Be permitted to. You can use the phone if you want to, right? Think back to Baki. You can beat your dad if you want to. Things are only possible if you want it. So, if you think Mega Man can edge guard really well, you're probably more inclined, you probably really want to dash attack, if so, because dash attack puts people off stage. Believing that he can edge guard just gave you more ways to win the game, because now you want to do dash attack. If you realize you can be the best, you're probably more likely to want to be the best, and vice versa. To wrap things around, can and want are very similar in what they get out of us, in the ethic, in the effort that they get from us. Can and want are very similar, and can and want are very similar in that they kind of boost each other. The more you want something, the more likely you are to be able to do it. And when you realize that you can do something, you're probably more likely to want to do it, right? If you realize, oh my god, I can win, you're probably super hungry now, right? For that win. Oh my god, wait, I can get pizza? You're probably more likely to order pizza after you realize that. Let's talk about do. To achieve or complete. Or perform an action. So, an example, I never really got the chance to finish school or do my exams. Very little work has been done in this field. Basically, this is the outcome. This is like confirmation to me that you wanted or can do something, right? You can only achieve or complete things that you want or can do. Because if you don't want to do those things, it's not an achievement. If you, I don't know, if you can hold your breath for 2 minutes, but you don't really care about that, you don't want it, I wouldn't say that's an achievement or an accomplishment. Sure, you can, but it doesn't even matter because you don't value it. You don't want to. You don't care. A friend of mine responded to my thread from earlier. This one. Believing in more things. They say, it's so difficult for me, that path of thought, to open up in my mind. I believe in a lot of my peers, but believing in myself feels completely different. Maybe because I have very high standards for myself. So, this is a player who has done great things. I use the word do to like reverse engineer that they have wanted and they have been able to do things. I say, it helps to get evidence that supports the idea I can do something I want to do. And then I go into my 3-step process of progress, which is basically wanting something, believing you can do it, and then you do it. That's basically what this video is about. But maybe you could work it backwards, right? I have seen this player do things and beat others that many people wouldn't be able to do. This player has shown me, and the world, whoever's watching, that they can do these things and that they can do more. So of course I believe in them. I've even grown to believe in myself, even without evidence. Like, I've got evidence that backs up this player, and I've got evidence that backs up myself as well. This player has beaten me, and I know I'm great, right? Believing you can do it is a hack that makes you more likely to make progress. When I say I'm him, it's not because I am fundamentally different from you. It's because I know what I've done. I've won big tourneys. I've beaten great players. I've done great things. I've held up trophies by myself and with my team. I know what I've done, and because of that, I know that I am him. I didn't even need all that evidence to help me in this belief. It's nice to be able to believe that you're him even without the evidence, but of course evidence helps. Anyways, yes, I, Peepnut, know that I'm him, and if this player can beat me, which they have, then of course, in my mind, like it's so obvious, this player is also him. So, I know it's not that easy for some people to just believe in themselves outright, but you know you just can, right? you know you just can believe in yourself. You have in the past, most likely, and you've done things that help confirm that you can. It's like, there was a study that I read a long time ago that I would imagine, and you would imagine, that people who are unhappy don't smile, right? And there was a study that came out a long time ago. I don't have a source, but like I read it, and it enlightened me. It said that you can just be happy by smiling, and that seemed so backwards to me. Like, what? No, I feel like you would only smile if you were happy. But there was evidence to suggest, or I forget if there was evidence to suggest, or if there was just straight out proof. I actually think it was proof. There is proof that says that you smiling actually makes you happy, right? It's not the other way around. So to bring it back to the Dunning-Kruger, you becoming knowledgeable isn't necessarily what gives you the confidence. You being happy isn't necessarily what makes you smile. Maybe you smiling is what made you happy. Maybe you being confident is what made you great. And that's crazy. That's awesome to me. That's powerful. That's us just doing something because we want it. I want to smile because I want to be happy. I can smile. I will smile. And I will be happy because of it. It's beautiful. I want to talk about people who don't do for a second. So, here's a great post from Tony, Coach Tony. When I see discussions on the willingness to do anything to win, the default seems to be things that are socially frowned upon, like playing dirty and gamesmanship. I can think of a lot more people willing to throw pocket sand than those willing to show up to training every day. He's basically observed that there are many people who say they want it, but don't even put in the simplest, most straightforward effort to get what they want. Plenty of people, like I said earlier, you need to align yourself. You need to align your do's, your actions, with things that you want. If you want to be the best, why aren't you grinding? Why aren't you showing up to practice? Why aren't you doing so-and-so, right? There was a player in the Mega Man Discord that we have who claimed that they actually just are the best. They are better than everyone else. And I'll just read this. So, I ask them, are you saying you're better than me? Smile. They say, yeah, all of you probably. I need to just travel and play every day. Well, why haven't they, right? You don't need to. You could just do it. But clearly you haven't, because clearly you don't want to. They go on to say, I think you have an advantage of going to more stuff, though. I don't know. Is it possible to get top 2 without traveling? And this discussion happened after I was revealed to be the best Mega Man according to the stats. So they're like, yeah, you're only number 1 because you travel. Which is crazy, right? That they actually think that. Of course, they go on, more excuses. My thing which sucks is that I find out about events when my schedule has been made already at work, shaking my head. Like the DreamHack Dallas, I think they screwed me and made me work. Instead of berating them, instead of memeing on them, dunking on them, whatever. And by the way, me showing this in this video is not me dunking on them. This is just educational content. And of course I blacked out their name because I'm not trying to dunk on anyone. I want this to be a learning moment for the person in this screenshot and for anyone who's watching. But I respond to them. I say, unironically, you can be better than me. Just ask yourself what it takes to get there. Can you be the best without traveling? They respond, probably not. Eventually you have to travel, I think. And I say, correct. You have been gapped before even picking up the controller. When I say gapped, what I mean is they've been travel gapped. I'm number 1 Mega Man in the world, and I travel. Is that a coincidence? They are... This player was like 20-something on the rankings, and they don't travel. Is that a coincidence? Maybe I'm number 1 because I travel. That, I think, is true. I travel. And why do I travel? Maybe it's because I want to be the best. And maybe it's because I want to attend tourneys and show that I can be the best. I want it more than this player does, which is why I'm out here traveling. There are people that cannot travel. There are people that can travel and don't want to. And then there are people that can travel and want something that requires traveling, but they still just don't travel. If you want something, but there is a prerequisite for it that you can fulfill, but don't do, then do you really want it? This player is out here saying that they are the best, saying that they are better than me and everyone else, but their actions don't align with that at all. Without looking at the rankings, I can know that they aren't the best, solely because I know they don't travel. And to reiterate, the second I heard that Mia, Ashimo, and Shuton were all going to Cirque 2, I registered for the event and made travel and housing plans. And when I was employed, when I did have a job, and I wanted to go to tourneys, I would just ask for time off ahead of time. You can you can have a job and you can still travel. You can still do things that you want to do when you have a job. But this player just didn't do the most practical thing and say, "Hey, can I ask for time off?" They're only finding out about events when it's too late. I find out about events when my schedule has already been made at work, shaking my head. Like, bro, if you really wanted it that bad, not only could you ask for time off, but like you would do it as soon as possible. You would find out that DreamHack Dallas is happening the second it's announced. Instead, you're only finding out about it like the week before or whatever, when your schedule's already made, and then you've screwed yourself. You were unable to go to DreamHack Dallas because you did not want it. Because you did not want it soon enough. Because you did not want it fast enough. Because you were not hungry enough. That I need this tourney frame 1. I need food right now. I want food right now, right? Because you were not hungry and signed up on Start GG frame 1 for DreamHack Dallas, enough time passed to where your ability to go to DreamHack Dallas actually evaporated. The ability to do it, the ability to go was in your hands at one point, but because you actually did not want it, that ability to do so, that ability to do it, it left your hands. So, final part of this video is going to be on another word. That word is should. I feel like I need to study this word more, because I haven't really fleshed out this final part of the video that much, but I just know a few things that I'm going to say about should. It is a dangerous word. It is something that signals like entitlement in some scenarios. Let's look at the definition of should. It can be used to indicate obligation, duty, or correctness. Typically when criticizing someone's actions. He should have been careful, right? Or you can use it to indicate what is probable. Or you can use it to indicate a desirable or expected state. Basically, a couple examples that I can think of off the top of my head is maybe you are playing your round 1, and maybe you are someone who is ranked in your region or something. Maybe you perceive yourself to be a competent player. But the person you are up against in round 1 is someone you don't perceive to be competent. Someone you don't perceive to be better than you. So when you go into that match, maybe if you have this mindset, maybe you think, oh, I should just win, just because. And that is dangerous. That is the exact opposite of the power of the word want and the power of the word can, right? It's not getting us to do. Can and want are getting us to do things, but the word should is actually making us not do things. Oh, I should just win just because, right? If you have that mindset, you're going to end up not studying this player you have for round 1. And what's that going to do for you? All that does is it makes it more likely that they get the win on you. Flip this around. What if the opposing player, this person that you did not consider better than you, what if they had the belief that they can win? What if they wanted to win? What are they likely to do? They are more likely to put in the work to beat you, right? You're out here gambling on should. I should win, right? Well, I'm sure there are many great players that you can think of right now that might have had that thought and got owned for it, right? I don't want to say for sure that these players went into their set thinking should, but for example, I think of MKLeo losing to that Ken player from NorCal, I believe. I think this was at Genesis or something. I think of anyone that looks at Manny, right? A lot of people see this win recently, and they think the word should. They think he shouldn't be in top 8. He shouldn't be popping off. He shouldn't have gotten here. He's just carried by Steve. And I don't mean to bring the final part of this video into a Steve topic, but like this, I just want to highlight how dangerous this word is, or can be, right? Should is so dangerous because if you really think that, oh, I shouldn't be losing to this Ken in my pool, or I shouldn't be losing to this Steve just because, then you're setting yourself up for failure, and you are giving them everything that they need to succeed. Now, should isn't always bad. It still has an important place in progress. Because when there are many things that you want in a singular game of Smash, like if I want to dash attack, and if I also want to get a grab, and if I also want to get an item combo or whatever, then I think should is the thing that determines which of those things is best to go for, right? It's getting harder and harder to win at higher and higher levels, so we need to have more tolerance, or more intolerance, for like things that we want, right? Sure, we may want dash attack, but like, should I do it if it means I get Roy F-smashed for missing? It's important to want that dash attack to begin with, and we will still want it, right? But we still need to make sure that, well, maybe there's something else that we want that's actually just better than the dash attack for whatever context, right? Like maybe since we are at Roy F Smash %, maybe we want this other thing more than the dash attack or what have you, right? It's still, should is still basically just ordering your wants and really nailing what you want most. So that's a healthy way to use and look at the word should. And I don't really have much else to say. That was my video. Yearning in Smash Bros. To bring it all the way back to the neater tier list. This is just showing who's yearned the most, who's wanted it the most. Yearning is something powerful, something that you can cultivate, something you can harness. wanting things, believing that you can. These are all things that you can cultivate. You can believe in yourself as well as others, and you will give yourself more and more opportunities to finally do what needs to be done. So, just believe and want more. Thanks for listening. Have a good day.